Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and I am very excited to go over patch 0.23.3, which is a major update related to foraging and mob types and things like that. But I think the most important part of this update is the stuff at the end, so stay tuned. Before we begin, I just want to say please make sure to like and subscribe down below, as it really helps out the channel a lot, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. You guys have been absolutely crazy recently, and I very much appreciate it. Now, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that I preface this video with this information. We're going to start at the end of the thread because this is the most important information here. First of all, they have now completed most of the remaining work for the Moonglade Marsh, and they are going to be moving on to things like Taurus and also Lunarize, the other islands of Galatea. They have not immediately gone back to development, but having these plans ready should make things easier once they do. Even bigger is Stonking. Basically, the TLDR here is that they are officially implementing a stonking-like mechanic accessible across all game versions. They will be hosting multiple testing sessions on alpha in the coming weeks, so they want you to be able to use stonking in game. This is very, very important. It allows the game in full to be developed in 1.21, moving over the game. They want to get it right here, it seems like, and that is very, very important. The next one is Guardian Slayer, a new identity of a new fishing-based Slayer. Basically, it takes place on a dedicated instanced island accessible via the ship navigator, where players can fish up that island's exclusive sea creatures and kill them until the boss spawns. Since the island has a boss all to itself, it has allowed them to tie in some really cool map mechanics into the boss's abilities, which they are excited to have us see soon. And also, the Guardian Slayer will have to release after the Lotus Atoll, on account of it relying upon some new systems introduced by the Atoll, but both updates are deep into development. That is 2 more islands, ladies and gentlemen, that we are getting sometime in the near future. Now, let's get into the real news. Alright, so taking a look at the changes today, we have a lot to go over. I'm not going to go over literally every single patch note, but here are the TLDRs. The first is that there's a ton of new museum items, and this is pretty much everything that was in foraging. So if you want to get this XP, well, feel free to do so. You're able to put all of this stuff in your museum. It's a lot of XP. I think it's about 120-ish worth, which is pretty good. Also consider that the Tormentor is also there as well, so keep that in mind. Another big change is that they've added a ton of new achievements to the game, most of which are related to Galatea. Pretty nice to see. They've also added 3 new hidden brackets to Agatha's contest with better rewards overall, so 7.5k, 10k, and then 12.5k. These just give you a lot more Forest Whispers and a lot more XP, which is very nice to see. Something I will say, though, is that they did raise the requirement. Now you need 5,000 to get Legendary. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but that's just what happened. Also, Melody, another big change here. You only need 90% perfection on Melody songs for the maximum Skyblock XP and Intel bonus. Very, very huge. Very, very happy about this. They've added a couple new attributes to the game. Notably, they've added one that gives you double hook chance while in the Backwater Bayou from a Titanoboa, which is pretty cool. And they've also added another one that gives you a up to 100% chance to chop down an extra log on top of the ones that you've swept. This one you get from tree gifts. This is also considered a bird, which is very nice to see. It's the Hummingbird Shard. There's also a new Galatea sea creature that gives you mangrove logs and sea loomies, so keep that in mind. They've also renamed the Sea Archer Shard and turned it into the Bogged Shard. To go over some of the other big points here, Kudra got some slight changes in terms of how Kraken Shards are working. From my understanding, this is a slight nerf, but they also made a lot of fusion recipes just way, way better. And also, you are guaranteed an Apex or Power Dragon Shard, an Emerald Chest, or higher in M7, so keep that in mind. Also, it is purely a bonus reward. It is not going to affect your handle rates or anything like that. They've done a lot of other good changes overall to Galatea. TLDR here added Flexbones to Bazaar, new emblems, Heart of the Forest XP rewards are converted to Forest Whispers once Heart of the Forest is maxed. They've also doubled the foraging fortune given by Citrines, which is great. And now they've made a bunch of changes to boosters, so the new ones are stackable. Very nice to see. You can also NPC sell them for 25k coins for those who are interested. They've also just made a lot of changes here, just big things that they're just trying to do to make things seem better on Galatea. They've also improved the tree gifts. Basically, they've made a few things a little bit more rare, but with the addition of the Hummingbird Shard, I think that this is just better overall. And also, Trevor the Trapper now gives hunting XP for all 4 people who still collect pelts. Phantoms now no longer deal any damage, and when lassoing them, they no longer dive super far away, which is very, very nice. Another thing that's pretty nice is that the axolotls now lock on to the player that alerted them and ignore any other players. So now they shouldn't be griefed easily at all. Stealth 1 books are now 10 times as rare from Chill Blades and Chill Shots, and also now you don't need 100 shards from Lush Lilac Bonbons, you only need 25, which is just flatly way better. The other big part of this update is mob types, aside from all the little bug fixes, which I don't fully want to go over. Mob types are a big deal. The TLDR here is that every single mob in the game now has one or multiple types. These types are listed here, and these types are seen in things like the Bestiary. There's also a new area, which we'll head in game to show in a moment. But as you can see, eventually I imagine we're going to see a lot more when it comes to different enchants that buff certain types of damage on certain types of mobs. So don't be that surprised when Diana V2 comes around, whenever that'll be, and we get a mythological enchant that buffs the damage on mythological mobs, or a Wither enchant in the future, or any other number of enchants. Mobs, once again, can have multiple types, so if a mob is Ender and also Airborne, it's going to take increased damage from both Ender Slayer and Gravity, from my understanding. This is the mob types house, by the way. It is available in the Spider's Den. Super clear, super obvious. Basically, you go into the mob types house, you speak to the two NPCs, and right now we'll hop in game and we'll show that off. So heading over to the house in the Spider's Den, you literally can't miss it. It's a big house. You can head inside. You initially speak to Michael, and then you go over to Ike, who has all of the different mob types. This is going to be kind of nice for super new players. You get some amount of Skyblock XP. I think it's 1 per type of mob you kill, as well as 1,000 combat XP per type of mob that you kill. Obviously, if you're super early game, that early XP might be useful for helping you get to, I don't know, the end, for example. So definitely going to be nice to see this system in game, and hopefully it'll be expanded upon over time. You're also able to see all of this information in terms of which mobs have which types in the Bestiary, which is very, very cool. There are also a bunch of other enchantment changes to go over here. Notably, the Arcane enchantment now works on all woodland mobs. It has been renamed to Wood Splitter. Cubism now works on all cubic mobs. Dragon Hunter now works on all airborne mobs, and it has been renamed to Gravity. You can still pick it up in the end. I think the new cost for Airborne 6 is 5 million coins. Impaling now works on aquatic mobs. Smite works on undead. Smoldering works on infernal. And also, they've replaced Ender Slayer 7 and Smite 7 drops with new items that upgrade the tier 6s to the tier 7s. They've also made a bunch of other item changes here. Notably, the End Sword now deals bonus damage to Ender mobs. They have a bunch of weapons that now deal bonus damage to undead mobs. And also, they made a few changes to arthropod mobs, as well as Reaper armor now applying to undead mobs. So keep that in mind. Not a lot of actual meta changes here, just some, back-end stuff. A big change that people are not happy about for those who play Stranded, all fortune stats are now disabled on private islands. They really need to look at doing something to Stranded, because right now it is not too great. They've also made a few other overall changes. Stew the Fish is more common, which I guess is cool. Flake is now an outstanding treasure cache for those who are interested in that. Thunder Shards are now Thunder Fragments, which kind of makes sense. You can no longer fish in water on the Crimson Isle. That kind of sucks. And there's a few other bug fixes and things like that. I've already gone over the what's next here, and we're going to head in game now to go over a few other smaller things. Alright, so heading over to Kiara, this is now an NPC that you can get an Abaphone contact for. I already picked up the Abaphone contact, but all you need to do is give them a Chameleon Shard, so make sure you do that. Also now, if we head over to Agatha, we can see the change to her contests in game. Now you need 5k points in order to get a Legendary in the contest. I think this is a little too much. I would love to see this drop back down to maybe 2,500 or 3,500. Epic was also increased, as well as Rare and Uncommon. I think all of them were. I just feel like it's a little much at the moment, but whatever. Another thing to note, I think this is pretty cool when it comes down to the hex. If you put an item in the hex and you have something already maxed, it doesn't appear. So for example, I've already gotten like all the hot potato books and fumings on this. Another thing to note though is obviously make sure you're getting the airborne enchant on most of your gear. It's another 40% additive damage. Against stuff like M7, dragons, it's going to be very nice. Which, by the way, they changed the M7 dragons. Now they are Ender, Arcane, and Airborne, which is very, very nice to see. Super happy about that change. Oh yeah, one more thing. Shellwise is actually fixed now in dungeons. This has been verified by people smarter than me, so feel free to use Shellwise in dungeons and not have to rely on Shelmet, which is very nice to see. Super glad to see that implementation finally be in game. Ladies and gentlemen, while this update by itself was not perfect, there are certainly a few problems that I have with it. I think it is overall better than it is worse, and they are going to likely change it as time goes along. Very, very excited to hear about the future of the game here. Not only are the production of Taurus and the third island of Galatea, which name I am forgetting right now, are under development, we're also getting at least 2 fishing islands relatively soon, and we're also going to be getting Guardian Slayer, which is very exciting to see. Stonking also being put in-game is super good. I cannot stress this enough. Dungeons was going to be the big thing that a lot of players would not like to see in 1.21, because you can't ghost pick into 1.21 with any level of effectiveness, right? So if they put Stonking in the game, theoretically they can update to 1.21, and that means a whole lot more content for you and for me, which I'm very happy about. Would love to hear what you guys think about this update down below. Kind of weird that this got overshadowed by the stuff that they announced at the end of the thread. Really excited to see what ends up happening on Alpha over the coming weeks. Would love to hear your thoughts once again, and look to the future, fellas. I will see you then.